Rampage Jackson's son just turned a wrestling show into real-life chaos, slamming a man so hard he ended up in the hospital. Fans are calling for prison, police are investigating, and the entire MMA community is divided. From Rampage's shocking apology to fighters defending Raja, this story is wild. And wait until you hear what Shawn Strickland had to say about it. But before we dive into the wild reactions from fighters and fans, let's go back to where it all started. It was supposed to be just another night of entertainment at KnockX Pro Wrestling in Los Angeles. This academy has been around for years, training wrestlers and putting on shows for fans who love the mix of drama and action. The crowd came expecting over-the-top moves, maybe some comedy, and the usual wrestling storylines. Instead, what they got was something no one in the building was ready for. In the middle of the event, Rampage Jackson, best known for being the son of UFC legend Quinton Rampage Jackson, entered the ring. At first, people thought it was part of the show. Wrestling often blurs the lines between reality and performance, so when Raja picked up professional wrestler Stuart "Psycho" Stu Smith, fans assumed it was a planned moment. Raja hoisted him into the air and slammed him down hard. The crowd cheered because it looked dramatic, exactly like the kind of spot wrestling fans are used to. But then, things shifted. Raja didn't stop after the slam. He went down and started throwing punches. At first, a few fans were still clapping, thinking it was scripted, but the longer it went on, the more uncomfortable it felt. Instead of moving in sync like a choreographed act, this was chaotic. The strikes kept coming, and Smith wasn't moving. Slowly, the cheers died down, replaced by shocked silence. Some audience members could be seen with their hands over their mouths, others pointing and shouting in confusion. It quickly became clear that this wasn't entertainment anymore. Referees and wrestlers rushed into the ring, trying to separate Raja from Smith. Security and trainers jumped in too, yelling at Raja to stop. The whole atmosphere shifted from fun to fear in just a few seconds. People watching the live stream on Kick began flooding the chat with comments like, "This isn't fake," and "Stop the fight." By the time officials managed to pull Raja away, the damage was already done. Smith lay still on the mat, and fans were left with the chilling realization that they had just witnessed something very real. After the shocking scene, all eyes turned to the condition of Stuart "Psycho" Stu Smith. Fans wanted updates right away, because it was obvious he had taken serious damage. Later that night, Smith's brother shared a post on Facebook saying Stuart was in the hospital. He described him as stable but in critical care. Those words gave a little hope, but at the same time they showed how badly he had been hurt. Doctors quickly ran tests and scans. Reports confirmed that Stuart had suffered heavy damage to his face. Several bones were broken, and he had lost multiple teeth. Even though fans didn't get every medical detail, it was enough to understand how brutal the situation was. Some insiders revealed that Stuart had moments of consciousness and could remember parts of the attack, but not everything. That raised big concerns about memory loss and whether his brain was affected in ways that could last for a long time. For his family, this wasn't just about physical recovery. Imagine sitting at home, hearing that your brother or son is lying in a hospital bed after what was supposed to be a simple wrestling event. It's heartbreaking. Within the wrestling community, the mood was heavy. Wrestlers often accept that injuries happen in the ring, but usually those are accidents during stunts everyone agreed on. This time, the damage felt different. It wasn't part of a storyline, and that made it scarier. Some wrestlers even admitted that seeing Stuart in such a vulnerable state made them question their own safety during shows. Once the dust settled in the arena, the legal side of the story began. The Los Angeles Police Department quickly confirmed they were investigating the incident. Unlike regular wrestling shows where everything is agreed upon, this was now being treated as a real case of violence. Since everything had been streamed live on Kick, the authorities already had crystal clear video evidence to work with. That meant they didn't just have to rely on witness accounts, they could actually see the entire sequence for themselves. One of the first witnesses to speak was Douglas Mallow, a fellow wrestler who had jumped into the ring to help stop the chaos. In his statement, he made something very clear. The initial slam might have been planned, but the punches were not. That distinction matters because in wrestling, performers rehearse moves to keep each other safe. But once Raja started striking for real, it crossed into dangerous territory. Mallow's words helped investigators understand where the scripted act ended and the assault began. Now, the question became what kind of charges Raja might face. legal experts quickly brought up terms like felony assault and reckless endangerment. Felony assault could mean years in prison if proven, depending on how severe Smith's injuries are judged in court. Reckless endangerment could add even more weight, since the attack happened in a public place in front of an audience. But it's not just about the courtroom. This case raised deeper issues about safety in combat sports crossovers. Should there have been stricter rules about who's allowed in the ring? Should medical checks have been enforced more carefully? Especially since Raja was known to have a recent concussion. Investigators will likely look into the responsibilities of both Raja and the promotion itself. For now, LAPD officers have said they're reviewing testimonies from wrestlers, staff, and fans who were in the arena. They're also analyzing every second of the livestream footage. In today's world, where social media spreads clips in seconds, this incident isn't just a private investigation. It's a global talking point. When the news about the incident broke, all eyes were on Quinton Rampage Jackson. He's not just a UFC Hall of Famer, he's also Raja's father. So people wanted to know how he would respond. Rampage didn't stay silent for long. He went on social media and released a statement that was part apology, part explanation. In his words, he called the whole thing a work that went wrong. In wrestling, a work usually means something scripted or planned. But here, Rampage admitted that what was supposed to be controlled ended up spinning out of control. He also confessed that Raja shouldn't have been inside the ring in the first place. At the time of the event, Raja was recovering from a concussion, which made him unfit to participate in any kind of physical performance. Rampage admitted he knew this, which made his apology sound even more genuine and heavy. The tone of Rampage's message wasn't defensive. Instead, it showed both regret as a father and sympathy for the victim. He clearly said he does not condone violence outside of proper competition. Coming from someone like Rampage, who built a career on slams and knockouts, that statement carried weight. It was his way of separating what happens inside a professional, regulated cage from what happens in an unsafe environment. Another important part of his statement was empathy. Rampage didn't just talk about his son, he talked about Stuart Smith. He said he hopes Smith makes a full recovery and even asked for forgiveness on his son's behalf. It's rare to see such openness in combat sports, where fighters are usually known for their tough image. Fans noticed that Rampage wasn't trying to excuse Raja's actions. He was just acknowledging the pain caused and trying to take responsibility as a parent. After the chaos in the ring, KnockX Pro Wrestling had to step forward and address the fans. The Academy, which has been around for nearly 2 decades, was quick to issue a strong statement. They didn't try to soften their words. They called the attack selfish, irresponsible, and reprehensible. That choice of words showed just how seriously they were taking the matter. In their statement, they also reminded people of their 17-year history. For almost 2 decades, they had managed to run shows without a single incident of this nature. That track record was important for them to highlight, because independent wrestling promotions already fight for credibility against bigger organizations like WWE. By stressing their clean history, KnockX wanted people to understand that this was not normal for them. Another major step they took was offering refunds and apologies to the fans who attended the show. For many people, this was their first or only chance to see a live wrestling event. The Academy knew they had to rebuild trust immediately. Giving money back was their way of saying, "We're sorry, and we're accountable." But their statement didn't stop at apologies. They also promised stricter safety protocols for the future. That means reviewing who is allowed in the ring, how performers are cleared, and making sure incidents like this never happen again. As the MMA world reacted with anger and shock, one fighter stood out with a very different perspective: Shawn Strickland. The former UFC middleweight champion is known for speaking his mind, no matter how unpopular his opinion might be. This time was no different. Instead of calling for punishment, Strickland argued that Rampage Jackson should not be sent to prison. Strickland explained his reasoning by bringing up his own past. When he was 19 years old, he faced serious felony charges. Back then, his life could have gone down a very dark road. But instead of being locked up for years, he was given a chance to turn things around. According to him, that second chance was one of the reasons he's here today as a professional fighter, not sitting behind bars. His main point was that prison should always be a last resort. In his view, putting Raja in jail for years would only make things worse. Strickland believes that long incarceration doesn't always reform people. It can harden them. He argued that rehabilitation, guidance, and proper support are much better ways to deal with someone who makes mistakes at a young age. Of course, this opinion sparked heated debates. Many fans agreed with Strickland, saying that young men often make poor decisions and should be given the opportunity to change. They pointed out that Raja is still early in his life and career, and there's room for growth if handled properly. On the other hand, plenty of people strongly disagreed. Their argument was simple. Actions have consequences. If you step into a ring and seriously hurt someone, you should face accountability. Some fans felt Strickland's comments ignored the seriousness of what happened to Stuart Smith. They believed that excusing Raja could send the wrong message about violence and responsibility. As soon as clips of the incident hit social media, the internet exploded. Within hours, the hashtag #JusticeForPsychoStu was trending on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. People from both the wrestling and MMA communities were furious. Some fans wrote long posts calling for Rampage Jackson to be banned from every promotion permanently. Others demanded legal action, saying what happened wasn't a mistake, but a dangerous choice that needed consequences. At the same time, there was a wave of support for Stuart Smith. Fans made artwork, sent donations to help cover medical expenses, and filled comment sections with messages of encouragement. It showed how quickly the community can rally behind someone in need. Fighters also chimed in. Many MMA professionals admitted they were shocked, not just by the attack itself, but by how out of control it looked. A few said it was a reminder that no matter how skilled someone is, self-control matters more than raw power. Wrestling performers also added their voices.
Yeah, I just really...
Some of them admitted that seeing the clip made them nervous about working with athletes from other combat sports. They argue that scripted wrestling needs people who know how to protect their opponents, not accidentally hurt them. Another layer to the story goes beyond just one incident. It's about the culture of violence in combat sports. Both MMA and wrestling are built on controlled aggression. Fans pay money to see hard punches, dramatic slams, and intense rivalries. But there's always an invisible line. The action is supposed to stop before someone's life is in danger. The Rampage Jackson incident showed what happens when that control slips. Sports psychologists often talk about adrenaline and performance pressure. When an athlete is in front of a crowd, the rush of energy can push them into fight mode. For MMA fighters especially, that instinct is stronger because they're trained to react without hesitation. Once adrenaline takes over, the difference between performance and real violence can get blurry. This isn't the first time sports have faced this issue. There have been boxing matches where fighters continued swinging after the bell, football games where players fought outside the rules, and even wrestling events where tempers boiled over and real punches landed. These moments show how thin the line really is. The culture around these sports also plays a role. Fans often cheer louder when the action looks more real. Some even demand brutal knockouts or dangerous stunts. That pressure can make athletes feel like they have to push further, even when safety is at risk. The more violence is glorified, the more chances there are for someone to cross the line. One of the biggest questions after the incident was simple. In combat sports, concussions aren't just small injuries. They're serious brain injuries that can change how a person thinks, reacts, and controls emotions. Doctors say athletes with concussions often struggle with impulse control, mood swings, and even aggressive outbursts. That makes what happened at KnockX even more concerning. Medical experts have explained that the brain needs weeks, sometimes months, to fully recover from a concussion. During that healing period, putting someone into a high-stress environment, like a wrestling show, is risky. Even if no punches had been thrown, the physical activity itself could have made his condition worse. But when emotions ran high, the concussion may have played a role in how quickly things spiraled. This raises accountability questions. Who gave the green light for Raja to appear in the show? Was he cleared by a doctor? Or did the promotion just allow it without checking? In bigger organizations like the UFC or WWE, fighters must pass strict medical tests before performing. But in smaller promotions, those safety nets often don't exist. That's a dangerous loophole that puts both the athlete and their opponents at risk. What do you think should happen next? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on stories just like this.